annual press conference. Thank you for being with us today. Well, what are we going to share with you today? Today we will talk about 2019 and how did the year go by for the DICV, and most importantly, and as always, where did we create history during that year? Most of you know that since we came to India, we've always been different from the rest of the pack. We have led the industry in offering the best TCO using technology as a game changer. And by doing that, we believe we have successfully set the pace for transformation of the CV industry in India. We also very strongly believe that the game has just begun, and this decade will be the decade of Bharat Technology. Why do I say so, and what makes me so confident about that? And this is what we will share with you today. Well, we have achieved the best ever business ramp up in the Indian commercial vehicle industry. With each year, we have become bigger, stronger, and more successful. In 2019, we created another history. We now have more than 1 lakh trucks and buses on Indian roads, and we have exported 30,000 around the world. This is the first time ever that someone has done this in India. Very recently, we analyzed whatever we have sold from 2012 to 2019 since we have been here. And we found some very interesting statistics, and this I would like to share with you. We found that when someone buys a Bharat Benz the first time, they purchase on an average 1 to 2 trucks. The second time they come to us, they buy 4. The third time they come to us, they buy 8. And the fourth time they come to us, they buy 22 on an average. Some people do even more. And this actually proves beyond doubt that when someone buys a Bharat Benz, they not only remain loyal to us, but they also grow significantly faster than the others. What makes our vehicle so popular? I think you all know that we offer the best TCO, and we don't discount, and the customers find the savings when they use our trucks and buses. And beyond that, we offer them unthinkable and unparalleled reliability. And this is what you can see on this slide here. We recently started a club called Millionaire Club. What this simply means is all the trucks which we have sold and have covered 1 million kilometers without any attention to their powertrain, which means these trucks have still the same engine and the same transmission which we provided them. It was only regularly maintained, not refurbished and not replaced. This is the first time ever, again, that someone offers the products that reliable. And I'm happy that with each passing day, more and more truck owners are joining this club. Now, let me come to the CV market, and I will talk about trucks, and then later on my colleague Thomas will talk about buses. And I think all of you know that we follow the calendar year logic, so whatever I will show you now will follow a calendar year, January to December 2019. So let's come to the market in 2019. And I think you can all see there is nothing green on this page. It was all red. In fact, this was the worst ever year for the CV industry in the last 2 decades. And I'm pretty sure that all of us would like to forget this. The medium and heavy commercial vehicle market went down by 34% in 2019. If I start from the left side, 378,000 trucks. This was the best ever year for CV market in 2018. And you can see, you can see what happened in 2019. It went down by 34%. That's too much. And it becomes even more interesting when you split the year into halves. The first year, it went down by 15%, and in the second half, it went down by 54%. That's how dramatic it was. And you can see down on that page, there are many reasons why this happened.
Sorry, all these things for calendar year, right?
This is all calendar. That's what I will use in my So what are the reasons for this? And I think some of them are mentioned below on that page. We believe the most significant reason was the implementation of axle load norms way back in 2018. This norm simply meant that we have added about 7 lakh trucks to the existing park in India. And if I take the average trucks sold in India, this would take at least 2 to 3 years before this capacity is consumed. Till the time this is not consumed, why would people buy new trucks? The second, of course, was liquidity crunch, which appeared in end of 2018. We have seen that situation easing off now, but it still lingers on in some parts. GST, which actually helped the industry by increasing the fleet utilization, but it actually leads to lower sales in the short term, and the impact of that, in our estimate, is about 10 to 12%. And then in the second half, typically, BS4 inventory correction by competitors also added to this dramatic downfall. All in all, CV industry is a backbone of the economy, and if the economy is slowing down from 7.5% to 4.5% GDP growth, this also has an impact on truck sales. So this is how the market was in 2019. As I said earlier, inventory correction of BS4 also led to unprecedented level of discounting in the market towards the end of 2019. And I think you all very well know that we don't participate in that game. We didn't have to correct our inventory that much, and we also don't participate in discounting. So the question is, how did we do in that kind of market dynamics? And this is what I will now show you. Well, if you look at 2019, we successfully defended our position in the market. Our wholesale went down by 36%, so in line with the market, and our retail, which is a more important indicator, went down by 29%. So in fact, we did a little better than the market drop, and we successfully defended our market. Moving on, if you remember last year when we met around the same time, I had announced that we will go for a major expansion of our network. And in spite of such a market condition in 2019, we added 54 touch points to our network, which means we had a growth of about 30% there. All the green dots on the left side of the page are the new touch points which we added last year. And since we came to the market in 2012, this was the highest ever network expansion which we did in India. We will continue with that. As you can see, for 2020, we plan to add another 25%. And we will not stop till we have the best ever customer reach in the market. Now you just saw that how the domestic market was. It was very, very weak, and we successfully defended our position there. But it was not the same when it came to exports, and there we had an attack strategy and to further grow. And you can see on this page that we again delivered. We had a 14% growth in exports. Double-digit growth, and we exported 8,000 trucks around the world. In fact, now we cover 53 markets. The blue highlighted markets are the markets which we added in 2019 to our portfolio. I think all of you know that we don't only export finished trucks, we also export parts and aggregates. And in 2019, we have now cumulatively exported more than 125 million parts using about 100 suppliers from India. And you can imagine this helps because if the domestic market is slow, we can provide them additional exports business. 2 years ago, we had started exporting medium duty transmission to Germany. And I'm happy that last year we continued with our ramp up. We had 43% growth in volumes on the transmission side. We exported 13,000 units to Germany. Well, if you look at all that, I think it proves beyond doubt that Make in India is a reality for us. And we have successfully combined Daimler's worldwide network and the Indian cost efficiency and innovation. And the next one, which I will show you, is personally close to my heart, and this actually makes us the most proud. This is a picture of our test practice plant, Oregon. And as you can see, we have solar panels there. And I'm happy to say that now, with that done, we actually run our entire plant 80% on renewable energy. And during the last year, in fact, there were 3 months when we run the plant completely on renewable energy, 100%. This is the first time ever that a plant of that size in India runs on that high sheet. Well, now what is the result of all that? And I think this is something you must be looking for. We stayed profitable in spite of this unprecedented slowdown in the market. All of you will remember that in 2018 we had achieved operational break-even for our truck business. And I'm happy that with all what we did, managing our position on domestic market, pushing exports, working on cost restructuring, we stayed profitable in this market. Now, there is a very common saying, when strategy leads, success follows. And this is the slide which shows you the strategy behind what we have done and what we will also follow in the upcoming years. On this page, you can see 3 pillars and 2 enablers. Starting from the left side, first one is innovation leadership. The second is cost leadership, and the third one is beyond trust. The 2 enablers are customer focus and company culture. When it comes to innovation leadership, I will show you now in coming slides. With BS6, we will lead the change and set new benchmarks of total cost of ownership. When it comes to cost leadership, we focused on material cost and fixed cost, but we are also now venturing into digitalization to improve our process efficiency in a big way. The third pillar is the most exciting pillar. It's beyond trucks, and we have started working on many new things here, and I will share that with you in the upcoming pages. Another significant thing which we have started doing on the beyond truck side is expanding our shared services business. We want to multiply that many-fold and further boost Make in India, which will also mean creation of new jobs and creation of new competencies within our company. So first, let me start with innovation leadership, and that starts with BS6 now. As regulation demands, BS4 will be out and BS6 will be in the next few days, and I don't think that is too much interest any longer. We've been talking about this since years. What is definitely more interesting is what is different with us when it comes to BS6, and that is the focus of my presentation now. When the first difference between us and others is that we already have a very proven technology. In fact, we are using this technology SCR only since more than 8 years in different countries. And as I speak here today, we have more than 1.4 million trucks and buses running globally with this technology. And what we have done in the last 3 years is we have localized this technology and we have industrialized this in India, and we have achieved localization levels of more than 80%. And that was also the reason why we were the first manufacturer to have a BS6 compliant heavy duty truck. And this slide shows you that we are ready with our entire portfolio for trucks and buses with BS6. Now, what is the second difference when we compare ourselves to others? While all others were busy upgrading only the emission norms, we did a lot of other things in our vehicles to improve the TCO which we offer to our customers. And let me show you in detail what have we done there. On this page, you will see a colosseum, and this colosseum has 5 pillars. And I will start from the left side. What did we do different in BS6 as compared to a BS4 and as compared to competition? First one, fuel efficiency. I think you all know how important this is for a truck owner. For some very fast growing segments like e-commerce, a Bharat-Benz BS6 will offer up to 10% better fuel efficiency than a BS4. With 50% as a fuel cost, you can easily calculate what that means for a truck owner. The second one, that's safety and comfort. We already offer the most safe products on Indian roads. With BS6, we have added up to 10 more features to make them even more safe and more comfortable for the driver. I talked about reliability earlier with our technology and our experience. In the last 3 years, we have tested BS6 for more than 50 lakh kilometers on Indian roads under the Indian duty cycles. And this gives us the confidence that we will offer up to 8 years of warranty and up to 10 years of annual maintenance contract for our products. This is the first time that a CV manufacturer offers this in the market. Well, the next one is maintenance cost, and also another important parameter for a truck owner or a bus owner. It's very commonly believed that when we upgrade emissions, the maintenance cost goes up, but not with Bharat Benz. We have promised that we will offer up to 6% lower maintenance cost than a BS4 Bharat Benz. And the last one is going to be the game changer, because we are now connecting our trucks and buses with our customers. We will offer a state-of-the-art connectivity solution with the launch of BS6. We will further scale it up in the next 2 years to create a clear differentiation to the competition. Now, why did we do all that? And that's something which is different with us as compared to others. You know, we all know that with BS6, the cost of products will go up. But if you look at a truck particularly, initial acquisition price is only 10% of the life cycle cost. So while that goes up, we worked on the other 90% to make sure that this goes down. And in fact, in some of the segments, we are calculating this right now. The break even for a BS6 Bharat Benz truck would be even earlier than a BS4. And that's the game changer which we are offering to the market. Well, so where are we in readiness? As I speak here today, we've already started handing over BS6 vehicles in the cities where fuel is already available, for example, NCR. And with the first lot, we've already covered more than 25,000 kilometers on Indian roads. And we have proven with that the cost of ownership equation which I just talked about. You all know, or some of you know, that we had a very successful premier event in end of January in Mumbai. With that event, we engaged with more than 1,100 customers. And in parallel, we have started running a demystifying campaign for BS6. With that, we intend to engage with more than 250 customers. As I speak here today, more than 100 customers have already shown interest to buy Bharat Benz as soon as this is available. And we will now start dispatching in line with availability of fuel. Just 5 weeks left before BS4 goes. We are ramping our production accordingly, and our order book is open. Our dispatches will continue depending on availability of fuel. So that was all about innovation leadership. What's next? Many times when I meet you, there is always a question on what's after BS6. Electrification or a different propulsion technology. And as I said earlier, with BS6 behind us, we will unveil our strategy for future. We will then talk about sustainable mobility for future in India. And that we will do in the second half of this year. Now let's look at the second focus area, which was the cost leadership. And I will not talk about traditional methods of cost leadership, which is bringing down material cost or fixed cost. I will rather focus on digitalization, because we believe this is the game changer in future. Our approach to digitalization is a 360-degree approach. What we have done is we have created a roadmap to improve the experience of our customers and to make our internal processes much more efficient than they are today. In fact, with some of the things which we have already done, we have reduced paper use in the company by about 13%. We have reduced our machine downtime by about 25%. And we have increased our efficiency by up to 30%. Why do I say those figures? These are substantial figures. And we believe digitalization, if done in the right way, can enable us to do that. This was also another reason why we brought down our cost to 2019 and stayed down. I will show you a few examples in the upcoming slides, but on this slide I will talk about proactive sensing. It's the first time we are talking about that. We are going to launch that very soon. And what this will mean is that we are able to detect failures in the market at a very early stage, and also to predict failures at an early stage. The connectivity will enable us to do that, and that is another example of digitalization which we will roll out in the next few weeks. So, coming to Truck Connect, and this page shows you which are the features we are offering in the phase 1 rollout of Truck Connect. What Truck Connect simply means, it's a tracking and diagnostic system built right into our vehicle and is accessible to the customer 24 hours a day. If you talk to a fleet owner, they have a lot of apprehensions in their mind when their truck is running. How is the driver doing? How are they running it? Is the fuel secured? Are they following traffic laws? These are the questions which goes on their mind. And with Truck Connect, they can monitor this real time. They can see how the driver is using the truck, was the fuel secured, where the truck is, and use this to then break down their fleet operation cost and make them more efficient. Another facet of digitalization, and this is the industry first, again something which has been done first time in the Indian CV industry. We have digitalized the entire life cycle dealing of customer with us. With a single app, the customer can do whatever they want to do with our dealership or with us, in terms of booking service, in terms of ordering parts, in terms of asking a roadside assistance, for example. And we believe that this will not only make us much more efficient, but much more customer friendly. So, what's next? And that's the third pillar, that's beyond trucks. And what are we going to do there? There are two approaches here. First one is a classical approach, and there we are currently studying to enter segments like defense or off-highway engines. And the second is a more progressive or future-oriented approach. There we will use our culture of innovation to find new business ideas and new revenue streams. For example, we are very closely eyeing the freight aggregation space to check whether it makes sense for enter freight aggregation space, to see whether it makes sense for us to enter that space. We believe it's a fast-growing segment, and it's a big enabler for us in future to penetrate the market. We've also started engagement with leading education institutions, and we will also get very active in the startup forums to see if there is a business idea which makes sense for us to invest in. Well, that was all for now. We believe that 2019 was a very successful year for us, as in the past, and what we achieved there makes us even more prepared for 2020 and beyond. Thank you very much. Thomas?
Okay, I would take over. Usually a setup for an annual press conference would be CEO and CFO sitting there. Obviously we are not doing that for good reasons. We do have two divisions in DICV. One is the truck division, one is the bus division. And to save your time, we decided this time to bring both press conferences together. And what you have seen was the truck side of the DICV business, and I will go now into the bus side of DICV. If we look at a divisional view, you see here the worldwide activities of Daimler Buses for 2019 in terms of revenue. Daimler Buses worldwide means entities in Brazil, in India, in Europe, in Spain, and in China. And I will now elaborate how 2019 went for Daimler Buses division, and especially then also for the Indian side of the buses division. Overall, buses result in 2019 was very positive for the division. You see sales going up by 6%, revenue in line with sales going up by 5%, and the EBIT also going up by 7%, leading to an overall return on sales of 6% for the global Daimler Buses business. Now let us go into a deep dive which role India plays in that worldwide picture. Here on this slide you see the year 2019 in terms of bus markets over the world, and you see China is still the largest bus market with 109,000 units, but India is not far away with 43,000, second largest bus market in the world. Yeah? Then you see next the Brazilian market with 20,000 units. You see Middle East markets and Southeast Asian markets. That's basically the size of markets: China, India, Europe, Brazil, Middle East and Southeast Asia. And now the question is, how does Daimler Buses care for these markets? The idea of the setup is that there is a production network that has dedicated products for the respective regions. And you see in Europe we do have integral vehicles, which means that this is not a chassis body concept, this is a completely engineered concept. You see city buses, you see coaches, and you see intercity buses here. So there is a full portfolio caring for the European markets delivered from Europe. And then you see two big hubs. One is a chassis hub in Brazil, and you see another hub, the Indian hub. And this is where we will then dig deeper in the numbers. The idea of the Brazilian hub is to care for heavy-duty applications, large vehicles, and the idea of the Indian hub is to care on the chassis side for medium-duty chassis, as well as for chassis body concepts for the domestic market and for export into the relevant export regions. This is supported by a worldwide sales network that is utilized by all production entities. So you have to understand the European production entity uses the 5 sales regions, as well as the Brazilian and the Indian entity. Overall, 5 regional centers: Middle East, Latin America, Central Africa, South Africa, and Southeast Asia, care for 18 markets that we from India supply to. And in 2019, we added 2 markets. This is the Saudi Arabian market, and this is the Chile market. On the domestic side, we share the dealer network with the truck side. However, we do not have all touch points that are open for trucks, also for buses. So a subset of the truck dealer in domestic market cares also for the buses. The number of touch points has also increased in 2019, so that we have now at the moment 184 touch points open for buses. This translates into a reach, into a customer reach of 2.5 hours. So each customer can reach our dealership in around 2.5 hours. I think this setup is a very stable setup. Domestic market, if we look at that, it's important not only to have a sales network that cares for buses, because the bus volume usually is too low to sustain the network. Yeah, so we benefit from the sharing of the network with the truck side. Now, if we look, this was basically the setup. Now we come to the numbers in 2019 for India. If we look into the vehicle population in 2019 has reached around 7,500 units. Why is this number relevant? And you see this is not a linear growth, this is an exponential growth over the last years. This number is relevant because business does not only come from selling new vehicles, but also from customer service and parts. So our revenue base grows and gets more stable with the growing vehicle population, and this is why the 2019 number of 7,500 vehicles is one of the numbers we look carefully at. Yeah. The split between domestic and export is roughly 2/3 to 1/3. 1/3 export, 2/3 domestic. If we look at the bus market in India, the bus market in 2019 has developed a little different from the truck market. You see the 2019 number at 43,500 units against a 2018 number of 39,000. So this is a growth of roughly 10% or 11%. So other than on the truck side, the bus market has increased on a sustainable level. If we look in the month-wise split, which is not shown here, then we see the same pattern as in truck. We had a decent first half, then we had a horrible third quarter, and then the pre-buy for Bharat 6 started, and this overall led to the market growth. So the challenge in 2019 was to balance this seasonal demand with the capacities in the plant installed. So one message of this slide is positive market development from 18 to 19. And now if we look at a long-term picture, you see in the first decade a growth of the bus market of 9%. If you go from 2000 to 2019, this is still an average growth rate of 5%, and we expect this growth to continue with fluctuations, of course, due to elections, due to emission norm transitions, but the general trend will be in that range. So it's a very wise decision to invest in India, to be here present, and to continue the setup here in the way we are doing. So the long-term outlook for the Indian market remains positive. If we look at the short-term outlook for 2020, we see in Jan already the pre-buy effect of BS4 still going on. We expect this to continue until March, and then the switch to BS6 will lead to a dip, and we will return to a normal year in the second half. This is our outlook for 2020, and in total we expect a market on the same level as 2019 for 2020. Now, product portfolio transition in 2019, mainly characterized by the BS6 introduction, and here basically the same things that Satyakam mentioned with Profit Technology Plus hold good. We did not only introduce BS6, but we revamped the complete portfolio as we have shown in the event in Mumbai, with advantages for TCO, with advantages for fuel efficiency, with advantages also on the connected side. The year for market launches is, as I said, not 2019, because due to the transition to BS6, it's of course for new vehicles a better time to be introduced after the BS6 emission norm. Let us now come to some key figures. For 2019, you see here now not the bus overall, but the Indian specific numbers. Revenue on the bus side grew by 12.5%, sales by 11%, and the export sales by 56%. An overall growth of 25% against 2018, which then also contributes to the vehicle park in the field. If you look at the regional split, 2019 had pretty much the same split as the previous years, 2-1 domestic to export. However, domestic market being a little weaker with 62% compared to the 38% on the export side. All regions with a strong foothold: Southeast Asia, Latina, and Middle East. In Africa, we are still growing, and this will also be the area where we will introduce further products. Challenges ahead. We have seen in 2019 change has been characterized by the introduction of BS6, and I put in this slide from last year. This shows the transition from BS3 to BS6 in terms of how many particles are in the exhaust gas and how many nitric oxide are in the exhaust gas. Yeah, and you see this big gray field here, and you see the very small BS6 field here. This is only the lower left corner. So from my point of view, if it comes to clean air, with the BS6 transition, the vehicle side is at its limits. So we will not achieve in future steps additional clean air by additional emission norms. However, there is different challenges now ahead. We do not talk about clean air and health of breathing anymore. We now talk about the greenhouse effect. So from our perspective, the next challenge will be how to deal with the CO2 challenge. However, the BS6 transition as well as the CO2 challenge do not come free of cost. Yeah? For BS6, you have to add filters and after-treatment systems, and for CO2, you might have different technologies. And all this has its cost. And now the question is how to come to an economically feasible, sustainable mobility system. And this is what you see then in the middle. Our aim and our introduction with BS6 is the development of a ecosystem that is on the one side environmentally friendly, on the other side economically feasible. And this is where connectivity plays, from our point of view, a major role. And this is what you see on the next slide. And this is also what we offer in series with the BS6 transition. This is the ecosystem for sustainable mobility that targets on the one side operators but also passengers. The operator, of course, has to do fleet management, reporting, fleet tracking and alerts. This is all what you see also on the truck side. This is a management task. What is now unique on the passenger transport side or on the bus side is that for sustainable mobility, and all of you who have gone through the traffic to come here know how important it is to generate a sustainable traffic or mobility system. This is now how to connect the passengers with the best way to move from A to B. And we offer, with the BS6 introduction now, an app for passengers where the passenger can do a live tracking of his bus, where the passenger can get alerts, geofencing, where the passenger gets attached to us through a loyalty program, Barrett Miles, and where he can also see his ecological footprint in terms of, I have been traveling by a BS6 bus, and compared to a BS4 bus, I have saved clean air. Compared to traveling by car, I have saved CO2. Because I think this awareness of environmentally friendly mobility changes the mindset in a way that passengers are then also more ready to change to sustainable mobility systems. So this is on the sustainable side. Of course, to entertain the passengers, there's also entertainment features in the app, and this is what the passenger then can enjoy when riding a Benz Barat 6 bus. And this is our view how to transform the mobility in the next step and preparing the system for the next move to CO2 friendly mobility. That's all from us. Now I think we are ready to take questions. Charlene would do the moderation of the questions, and feel free to ask whatever you want.